Got our next live guest, Ellen Voie from Women in Trucking with us this morning. Ellen, welcome to FreightWaves Now. We're excited to have you.
Oh, good morning. And it's actually Voya.
Voya, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Thank you for correcting me on that one. We're excited to
That's
have you
okay.
talking all about what's going on when it comes to women getting into our industry, and traditionally an industry that's more male focused. Talk to us about what's going on when it comes to legislation. We just have a new blog post, I think, or some news that's up on your website.
Actually, yeah. So for 14 years, we've been trying to get more women in the industry. We've been doing it ourselves. We've never had government support. And now we're getting noticed at the federal level. And a couple of bills have been introduced. And one is called the Promoting Women in Trucking Workforce Act. And that's to create a Women in Trucking Advisory Committee at the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. And the advisory committee will be made up of mostly associations and trucking companies. So it actually specifically states like there will be a large trucking association, like probably the ATA, and then an owner operator one, probably OOIDA, and of course, women in trucking, and then some carriers that represent different size organizations as well. And then there's more recently, oh, and I need to say that the Promoting Women in Trucking Workforce Act was introduced by Senators Moran of Kansas, who introduced similar legislation about 3 years back to get more women in aviation. So he's already done this and he's been successful at it. So we're thrilled. And then the other one is Promoting Service in Transportation Act, and that is for all modes of transportation. And it's really public service announcements to share our message of what great jobs we have in trucking and rail and aviation and pipeline and all modes. And it's really to talk about how stable these jobs are and how important they are to the economy. So both of them are really more educational than regulatory, but they both help support our mission.
Yeah, good morning, Ellen. Mike Vincent here. That sounds really, really good. Do you give any credit to the current situation and the need for drivers and the pressure that is there right now in assisting getting this through there? Is that kind of one of the silver linings of the situation we've been in over the last year?
Oh, exactly. You hit it on the head. And actually, I'm going to go back. When I started Women in Trucking, people would just say, we just want the best driver. We don't care their gender, their age, their ethnicity. But now, over the years, we've proven what value women bring, especially as drivers, but both in the boardroom and the CEO, the C-suite. But as drivers, women have been proven to be safer drivers. Women are more risk averse. And so the American Transportation Research Institute found that men were 20% more likely to be involved in a crash in every statistically significant area. So now companies are saying, wow, we want safer drivers. And oh, by the way, women are often better with the equipment, better with customers, better with paperwork. So they're seeing the value that women bring to the industry. And their biggest challenge is letting women know that they're wanted and valued.
Mhm. Ellen, I really like what you said about supporting people and women in the C-suite too, and not just in these driver roles, because that is super, super important,
Of
not
course.
only for getting people to associate your company with being positive and being inclusive and being forward-looking, but it also brings a different perspective to the way that you do things. Talk to me a little bit about the support that you guys provide, not only to those women who are in the driver's seat, but who are also in the CEO seat as well.
Well, I love that question because I want people to know that Women in Trucking isn't just for drivers, we're for all women in the industry. And so mostly we do a lot of research on unconscious bias. So why aren't women being promoted? And years ago, you would see Smith and Sons Trucking. Well, now you're actually seeing daughters taking over. Maybe their dad started every large trucking company out there. Every single one, I don't care who it is, started with a man and a truck. Whether it's Schneider, Sarah England, Warner, right, right.
Sure.
So it's kind of cool that now the daughters are stepping into the roles, and it's not automatically going to the sons, but women make decisions differently than men. And I say different because neither one is better, but women are more risk averse. So in decision making, if you have if there are five choices, a man will look at, and I'm generalizing here, but a man will look at the choices, narrow them down, and pick the best one. And it will be a fast process. Where a woman will look at the five choices and say, am I missing anything? Call five of her peers and say, can you see anything that I'm missing? Expand it to 11 choices and then go through each one. And so it's a long process, but neither one is better. But if you mix these, and let's say you're in the C-suite and you maybe want to, maybe it's a mergers and acquisition situation. So the men will go, yep, let's buy that property or let's buy that trucking company. And the women will go, what are other options? So women bring a different perspective to the boardroom, which is better for everyone.
Yeah, they bring a different perspective, and I tend to I agree with you in the difference in the processes, right? And we just saw that earlier in the show. We were talking to Alan Adler about the safety drivers and these new technicians that are coming in. They're drivers, but they're more like engineers or liaisons, right? Working with autonomous vehicle companies to test these new systems and work on it. And one of them was a woman. She's almost 3 million miles and 20 some years driving, which is amazing, and applaud her and applaud the thing. Now, when we talk about that, and you've got this new legislation, these new coalitions, if you will, that are working on this in this education, what do you call success? What does success look like to you from these new avenues?
So success to me is when, let's talk about the driver part of it. So when a woman backs up to a loading dock and hops out, nobody looks twice. Everyone just assumes she's capable. She's not an anomaly anymore. And for women in the C-suite, when we stop doing press releases about a woman being the first, when I'll be happy, we don't, when it's, she's the first woman to do this, the first woman to do that. When those press releases are no longer, then we know we've reached some kind of saturation point.
That makes a lot of sense.
I absolutely love that. I can't remember if it was a tweet or a LinkedIn post or something about an artist who was like the first woman to do this. And it was like, when my gender is no longer the selling point in that headline, that's when I know that I'm going to be successful. Talk to us a little bit about how you guys are working and how you've seen the industry change in the last year, 10 years, 20 years to attract more women into working in this industry. Like we said, not only in the driver's seat, but really in every role, talking about from brokers to drivers to C-suite to here doing, talking about freight on FreightWaves TV. It's an interesting place to be the woman minority, but still a great role to have.
Well, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of women are taking over from their dads. And so it's no longer assumed that the son or the male is the better employee in this environment. It's no longer assumed that. And so now you look at what are the capabilities? What does the daughter bring? What does the son bring? And maybe the daughter is the better CEO. And so to me, that's progress, that it's not automatically Smith & Sons trucking. But I also know that companies are seeing the value of all diversity, not just gender diversity, ethnic diversity, age diversity, all different diversity, and how different voices bring different ideas, different opinions. And so why wouldn't we want to consider all opinions instead of just doing it? The trucking industry, I've learned in the past, is a lot of times, well, we've always done it that way. And so somebody needs to say, but why do you do it that way? Why are you making that decision? And then, and like when I first started, I'd say, how many of you still give out big belt buckles for safe driving awards? And they look at me and they go, oh yeah, you're right. We can stop doing that. So it's somebody calling it, calling attention, or using, like, in recruiting ads, we'll get you home to your wife and kids. Start putting, different, more gender neutral, gender diverse recruiting ads. And so don't assume that a NASCAR driver or a girl in skimpy clothing is your best recruiting graphic, because it's no longer the case.
That is awesome. So quickly, we have a minute. Ellen, what is your pitch to women to get them into the trucking industry?
Well, first of all, they need to know that they can do it. And they need to know that the industry's changed. And you mentioned autonomous vehicles. We love autonomous vehicles because they bring a safety aspect. I don't think you're going to see a truck going down the road on a daily basis without a driver, but all the safety materials, or all the safety technology that's going into the trucks, make the job safer, our highways safer, our families safer. And that's what women bring to the table, is a much more risk-averse, safety-minded driver and CEO.
Great, Ellen.
Excellent.
Thank you so much for joining us this morning on FreightWaves Now. Of course, go check them out at womenintrucking.org, that is. Thank you again. Awesome conversation that you guys are having there.
Thank you, Ellen.
Thanks.